Welcome to My Home HQ podcast with Ray Fletcher. Leading the way in buying and selling homes, knowing the current housing market, updating your home without an extensive remodel, or how to stage your home for the perfect sale and more. Portland, Oregon real estate agent Ray Fletcher will bring his 20-plus years experience of real estate, home ownership, and selling homes to you in his bi-monthly podcast. This podcast will be your home headquarters for strategies to achieve success in your real estate investments. Now your host of the podcast, Terry Fletcher.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the My Home HQ podcast with Ray Fletcher. I'm your host, Terry Fletcher, and we are in the middle of November, which means we have more investment opportunities. We have all things real estate to talk about. And as we head toward the latter part of the year, I think people are also looking for some of those tax breaks that could be a possibility when it comes to investments. And so giving us insight to some of these topics and talking about possibly investments with partners and other real estate options that you may not knew existed will be, of course, my brother, resident home and real estate expert, Portland, Oregon realtor Ray Fletcher. So hello, Ray.
Hello.
Okay, so we're going to dive right into episode 6. And also we did want to just send a shout out to our listeners. We have grown about 60% over the last month. And so we really appreciate that. And we're really happy that you're here. So for episode 6, I kind of wanted to talk about, kind of keep our theme with investment properties as we were talking about before, but now talking about it maybe with partners, because I know that we've in the past talked about some real estate options and things like that, and investments, but I was going to ask you about some of the things I'm seeing out there. You know, we kind of left off with vacation rentals and things like that, but there's commercial properties. It seems like there's a for sale sign everywhere. And then there's also storage units. I'm finding that seems to be a hot topic for an investment. So let's start with commercial properties. Let's take a look. What do you think about commercial properties since there's such a remote workforce right now?
Sure. I love commercial properties. One of the main factors why is because the regulation and the restrictions and the laws are a lot different than they are with residential residential investment properties. So if you have a tenant, the tenant law is a lot different than with somebody living in the home than it is somebody renting a storage facility, so to speak. It's much more relaxed on the storage side.
But isn't it, is it more of a headache because people want, so for example, before I went back to completely remote, I had my office at kind of what you call a business park where they had all kinds of, little offices everywhere. And it seemed like there was everything from massage therapists to carpet sellers to bicycle sellers to insurance brokerage firms. And then there was one that he had to, actually the property manager had to move out because he was a cleaners, but it wasn't a cleaners. It was the place where they did the cleaning and the chemicals were a little much for the space. Yeah. So do you feel like before you invest in a commercial property, you need to see who your tenants are?
Yeah, the risk is definitely there. The due diligence is the utmost importance. And figuring out now these P&Ls when you're dealing with commercial investments, aside from residential. So there's two types of ways. You've got the commercial, which could be industrial, parking spaces, big buildings, things like that. And then you have the other side, which is more the hospitality side, I guess is the word I'm looking for, which would be your duplexes or your vacation homes and things like that. When you're dealing with commercial, knowing your tenants, is there an anchor tenant that's kind of doing it all? And then all the little tiny ones that are all in the same building. When you do have multiple units, the odds of having a fully vacant building it's much less. And so your risk isn't as dramatic when you have just a duplex and then half is empty. So things to think about is that as well. You're spreading out your investment through the course of the whole building.
Well, and I was noticing just in some of the commercial property situations that I've seen and talked to people about, it seems like some of their headaches aren't the same that you would have as maybe a single family rental. I mean, sometimes you'll have things like, my toilet's not working or, this roof is leaking, but that seemed to be minor compared to, let me think of some of the things he had. So he had people trying to use the the commercial property dumpsters for personal, people would stop by and just try to dump stuff in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Things like that. Parking was a big one, having abandoned cars parked there. Things like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. However, I'd be curious though, figure your space. How small was your space? And then basically, if you're trying to figure out what it was worth, the dollar per square foot you were paying, and were you subletting it? Is it all on your own and all those things? And then figure out the last place you rented, how much was that per square foot? And normally the commercial space per square foot is quite a bit more than it is in a residential home. So it does pencil out when you're dealing with that. And then the parking and things like that, those are all costs that a lot of the tenants do pay. They do these triple net leases where they're paying the taxes and insurance. And they have their own cleaning fees and they have their own other fees that they pay as well. And so it's just spread out through a much broader sense. It helps.
Well, I noticed that the units that had a restroom inside the unit were much more expensive than when it was a shared, like there was one down the hall of this, building, and then everybody had their own key to it or something like that.
Yeah. One major, so up here in Portland before COVID, they had this thing called WeWork spaces. And it was basically this big, just a huge complex, almost a big loft that they put little tiny office spaces in. Well, they ranged from 500 square feet to 2,000 actually. The walls didn't go all the way to the ceiling. It was glass everywhere. So when you walk in, you could see 6 different companies in there. And there was a full bar. Well, it was wine and beer included in your rate. And then you could just walk up
for a working space.
Oh yeah. Awesome. Yeah. You could walk up to any desk, sit your computer down, plug it into the internet through hardwired internet or Wi-Fi, and you had a cord and just work away. And it was going extremely well. And then of course everybody was essentially kicked out for COVID, but these spaces were popping up all across the country. And if you were getting just $100, it's like a gym. I mean, you can almost look at that type of system as a gym membership. You buy it, Planet Fitness, $10 a month. Nobody's going. I mean, the majority aren't going. Obviously, people go to the gym. But
right.
Understand that business model is not counting on a lot of people going.
Yeah. No. Well, they have it something like that, and it's called the Irvine Company down in California.
Yep.
And they do it, but because our weather is obviously different than yours. It's open air, a little office space and stuff, and people are loving it until obviously the weather changes a little bit. Then they've got some inside options. But I'm noticing that it seems like God, I'm trying to think of what they're called. What's it called when it's like parking lot office space? It's isn't it like an outdoor mall or mini mall? What do they call those when it's like you're in the parking lot of like a Pizza Hut and a Target, but there's 20 buildings or 20 stores up against a wall, and it's kind of industrial.
I think it's just like an outdoor mall area, but
I
don't know on that.
And I'm noticing that there's a lot of commercial open, space. Yeah. There's a lot of empty, I know, healthcare buildings. I mean, I know I've seen several, orthodontist and physician offices that are just abandoned, and there's for sale signs out there. So I was just wondering from, I don't know, actually, I don't even know your extensive experience in commercial plans, but I know you dabble in it, commercial property. Are people getting a bargain now, or is it because a lot are going back to work? They're not where they were last year?
Well, the prices, even though they're for sale, haven't really dropped. And that's the crazy part. Here in Portland, my wife works downtown, and they work with a lot of commercial brokers, and there's a huge vacancy down there, and all the brokers are kind of struggling, but the prices, they're just not dropping because there must be some benefits to just holding it vacant than it is to take a loss with a new tenant, because the cost of removing them, and everybody's banking on all this shifting. Everybody thinks we're just in a cycle
because of COVID. They just think it's just there because of that. Okay.
Right. So would it be a good investment right now to buy an office building? Probably not.
Okay.
But but you got to find some of the foolproof, recession-proof type businesses. And the number one thing for me that I've always looked at for 20 years is a storage facility. And if anybody you talk to, well, not anybody, most people you talk to in the industry know that is the holy grail of investment properties, because you have the ability to get these tiny little, basically cubby holes, these storage spaces that all they have are 3 walls, a door, and a roof. That's it, and a concrete slab. And you get $90 to $200 for this little room every single month. And if things are going well, you're moving your stuff out, you're putting it in storage and buying new stuff, but you don't want to get rid of your old stuff because you're going to save it for your kids. If things are going bad, you're moving your stuff out because you got to downsize. You just hope it doesn't go too bad to where the stuff in your storage isn't worth the value of the monthly fee. Right. That's the catch. So when you're looking at these type of investments, you got to look at the risk versus the reward, and then the cost associated with the worst case scenarios. And that's always the key. What are the worst case scenarios? We all can run our projections on best case, but what are worst case? And that's what you have to run your projections on. And that's the most important part.
So you just came across a storage property. I want to talk about your new investment. And you went into it with 2 trusted colleagues or friends.
Yep.
And so that's a third equal. And as far as the investment goes, and it's something you want to keep for forever.
Yes. So finally found one, and we looked at it, and I've got a real estate friend of mine, kind of an old school, pull your bootstraps kind of guy, work on anything, do anything. The other guy is a licensed general contractor, owns a commercial window company. And then myself, who I love sales. I love back-end software, some technology, things like that. So I felt partners are tough, and family members are potentially even worse than partners, as far as you're looking at each other to do stuff, where with partners, everybody kind of has their role because you know what they're good at. And so with the way we've structured this is we all kind of have a role on what we're doing. And so we went ahead and we bought ourselves a storage facility. It's about 90 units. It was built in the early 90s. And it's interesting because when I talked earlier about having that investment eye, this one, I went all in. I was willing to do whatever it took to get it. She had the ability to get multiple offers, but when we looked at it, it would have cost quite a bit to get into it. The loans on these were next to impossible. So you'd have to have a hard money lender, lots of money down. Hard money lender meaning that they're going to charge you a really high interest rate. They're going to give you the money for about 5 years or less, and you got to refinance it, and then all this stuff. And so we kind of walked away. Well, you asked the agent, would they consider owner contract? And of course she said no. The sellers just want to walk away. And we're like, we understand. And then out of the blue, the agent called and says, hey, would you guys be interested in owner contract?
Wow.
And we couldn't say yes quick enough.
Do you think she didn't think you'd walk away? Are there people that just are like, oh, let's just do it anyway?
She just didn't get the all cash offer they were looking for.
Oh. And
so which again, I've been wanting one of these forever. And so obviously you take a step back, you're like, well, wow, why do I want it so bad? Nobody else does.
Right.
Well, people are just big talkers. People just say things to say things, myself included. But when you're dealing with a major investment, and everybody's always like, oh, if you find me one, I'll buy it. Well, it's really not true. You can lead people to the greatest house in the world, but they're going to find a reason why it's not for them when it comes right down to it. And so anyway, so make a relatively long story short, we went ahead and we jumped in. And then in the due diligence process, which took about 60 days, which is normally we had it in the contract, 3 weeks. She's going to get us all the records of all the tenants, how much they're paying, what they're doing, and all this stuff. And she basically started sending over what looked like napkins.
What?
This is their, yeah. Oh yeah. I wish I was joking. And so we started drawing this plat map and writing these names in. And every day we would have to start over because she's like, oh no, they're not there. Oh no, they died. Oh no, this. Oh no, that.
No.
Her
this is like Twitter fake accounts.
Oh, it's awesome. Her family was in at least, out of the 90 of them, was in at least 15 of them, paying nothing. A lot of people had multiple units, paying about $10 to $35 a month since 1995. Oh, yeah. And about 20 of them, the people just disappeared.
They
Can't
just leave
find
their
them.
stuff there, can't
They
find
just-
them. Yeah.
And about 5 of them, so on another note, if you sometimes back in the day, it's cheaper to go get a storage unit that's offering you a free month's worth of rent than it is to go to the dump.
Gosh. You know what this
If you
reminds
gotta-
me of? Remember that show that people that just abandoned their storage unit?
Yeah.
And it's a TV show, right?
Yeah, Storage Wars.
Storage Wars. And they're just like,
Yeah.
okay, who's going to bid on this? And they don't let
Yeah.
them look in there. You can look in the
Yeah.
window, but you can't open
Yeah.
it.
Storage Wars, as for the past 2 weeks, is just fraud. It's not true. I mean, I'm telling you, for an absolute fact, it is not true.
Right.
They have to plant stuff in these units, and for them, because you watch. I mean, I've watched them. I find them fascinating. I fast forward through the commercials. You can get through one in 15 minutes, and
Yeah.
they open it up. They start tearing stuff apart. What they're not showing us is most of the time nothing is in there, and then all that stuff has to go to the dump. Has to go in a dumpster, and there's a cost for that.
Wow. Wow.
So with this said, we closed on it. We got it. I have no, I mean, I'm brand new into this. I have no judgment of how much stuff can be packed into a 5-foot wide, 10-foot deep storage unit. I have no idea. I'm looking at it. I'm like, that's what? I don't know. Not that many garbage cans. It just doesn't seem like a
right.
pickup
How many
truck full of junk.
jelly beans are in the jar? Exactly.
That's exactly right. 4 units filled a 20-yard dumpster.
Wow.
And that's us taking all the furniture and breaking it down flat.
Wow.
We have 20 to go.
What is the rule for this as far as, somebody who's abandoned it? Is there a state rule in Oregon that
Oh, yeah.
you have to search out the owner, otherwise, you're taking their property, or no?
Yeah. So what you do is you put a lien on it. You email, well, back in the day when these people were still alive, you mail them letters and all this stuff, and then you post it literally in the newspaper.
That's what something
And-
to at least make an effort to
Sure.
find them. Yeah.
And the laws are still the same.
Oh, okay.
That's exactly what we do. And so you cut the lock off. So we've cut the lock off of one, opened up the door, and it has not seen the light of day in probably 20 years.
Any dead bodies or anything? I'm so worried about that.
Not yet. Not yet.
Oh my gosh.
So
Moving into the storage unit, this is super funny to me as far as just the stories that in the photos you sent me, just, oh my gosh, it's seriously like a reality show. But one of the things that I heard from, I mentioned him before, Tarek El Moussa, who's Flipper Flop and his new investment thing, he is all about what you said. He's talking about storage units, and he bought with investors, a couple of them in Arizona, one in California, and all of a sudden I'm seeing my brother do it. I'm like, well, Ray Fletcher's doing it too. I'm just like, then I mentioned it to Tom, my husband, and he's sitting there with me on the couch, and he's like, oh yeah, good investment. I'm like, hello, why didn't you say that? We could have done that too. What makes these a good investment? I realize it's a small space for a monthly fee. It almost seems to me like all the streaming subscriptions we have, like Hulu and all that. Is it like that?
Well, yeah, kind of. So let's just say, we have a bunch of small units, a few larger ones, and a bunch of medium ones. And we range from 90 to 190 a month. Now, granted, we have not done our first full month yet. And so what we've been doing is working on the back end, which is a new software program, getting people in it, letting people know, yes, I'm sorry, you've been paying $35 for the past 20 years, and your bill is going to go up to $190, $180, because I'm giving discounts by January.
Oh,
the anger is real.
Yeah, I'll bet. What?
And I'm asking them, I go, where do you work? And they tell me, and I'm like, so you mean to tell me you've never had a raise in 30 years of being there? Well, that's not the point. Well, but it kind of is. I mean, while you think we're about to take advantage of you, you were taking advantage too. Now, you're not going to call your landlord and say, hey, shouldn't you increase my rent? But you shouldn't be surprised that somebody did. You should be like, I should have seen this coming, but I'm happy that they let me stay here for so long.
Right.
But regardless of that, so we've got basically we've got, let's just say 90 units, and we're going to average 150, $150 when it's all said and done, average each. And so 90 times $150 is $13,500, right? Well, if your payment on that's only $6,000, what's the maintenance that I'm missing? I've got electricity.
Right.
Do you
have to have plumbing or running water there?
No plumbing, no water, no electricity for the units. I just have to have lights on when they come in.
Okay.
I got a back-end software and a merchant account.
Okay.
There's nothing left.
There's nothing. I don't see anything left. Yeah.
There's nothing left.
Well, do you have to have, what about gate? Do you have to have like keys?
Well, of course. Yeah, we got key. But I mean, everybody buys their own lock. I can't have a lock. I can't have a key to their lock.
Yeah.
Everybody buys their own lock. And that's really it. Now, there is some upfront costs. I mean, there can be some upfront costs on ours. I mean, it's 1990s. So we're going to have to put, we're probably going to put in an additional, about 20,000 is what we budgeted for upgrades, which is a new gate, paint, cleaning up the place, and then the dumpster fee, which is going to be huge.
Right. And signage, you have to add the sign. I saw the one coming down.
Signs cost us $2,000.
Oh, that's not bad
So
at all.
no, it's not that expensive because everything's just commercial.
Now, do you have one sitting at a phone, to rent space, or is that routed to one of you that has time during the day, or how does that work?
Yeah. So what we did is we have a back-end software company that they can read the sign, go to our website, log in, rent a unit, and I'll just get a notification that somebody rented a unit.
Oh, wow.
If somebody calls, which most people want to call, I just forward it to whoever's available to answer the call. And for now, it's me, just because I want to see the response and I'm here and we'll go from there.
Well, you're in real estate. You're a little more flexible, probably.
Yeah, and I answer my phone.
Right.
That's the key.
Right.
And so one thing interesting, if anybody is looking to start a business and you do not want your personal phone attached to it, which trust me, you do not, Google Voice is free.
Oh.
You just go to Google Voice, you get a voicemail, a text, and a local phone number, and it could be forwarded to anywhere.
That's fantastic. And it's
free?
free?
It's completely free. And
Why would they do that for free?
I see advertisements every once in a while.
Oh.
And it works flawlessly.
Wow.
It's shocking.
Now, here's something about the unit. This wasn't something that was advertised for sale. You guys saw it was going in the toilet as far as, being run down and it needed, some
Actually,
things
no.
Looking for it, right? Or
no,
was
this was actually listed by an agent on our multiple listing service. You could have seen it on Zillow. As soon as she went she was getting the agent was getting a lot of calls. A few people wanted a lowballer, things like that. And because of the terms, I was willing, everybody else was a little hesitant to take it as is. I would have done it by myself, to be honest with you. I would have came up with the full down payment. I would have done whatever it took to get it, because in my mind, these are, again, 13.5 doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're looking at the facility that we have, the expansion that we can do is quite dramatic. And that's
you would have asked your sister, right?
Of course. So so when you're looking at these things, you always have to look at what's this building missing in a nutshell, and how do we make it better, bigger, more profitable? And just by a few tweaks, we should be able to get it up to about $20,000 a month with about $2,500 in investment.
And you were saying you were thinking about adding like RV parking.
RV parking.
Like that.
Yeah. RV parking. And then we're going to look at a different type of storage facility, a system that we're going to do.
Now, does RV parking include like somebody wants to park a boat?
Anything you want to park, but you do not get water, sewer, or electric. You cannot live on your spot.
Oh, okay. Because some people that have these storage units, I just mentioned a boat. I remember back in the day, ex-husband, when we had a boat, we had in the storage unit, it actually had water because we would take it from the ocean to clean it there.
Yeah, for sure.
And you can't do that here.
We might, when I say water, I mean actual hookups. We probably will have a spigot and a potential drain so people can drain their RV tanks on the spot. If you could do any type of customer service feature benefit you'd want to do that. It's hard to trust people that they'll actually shut the water off,
Right.
close doors on the storage facility, lock up after themselves. So the more automated and timer based we are is what we need to be.
Oh, do you have to have security?
We have cameras, yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, but that's not somebody that's actually
Nobody on
physically there.
site.
Okay, but
No one on
cameras.
site.
Well, how exciting that is as far as just kind of a new investment. And I think one thing for the listeners, I think you've kind of brought up something where, we've been talking over the last few episodes, commercial properties, duplex, vacation rentals, single family homes for, either purchased if not just an investor, but you're looking for a home, and then, multiple units. But now you've brought up some, another possibility. And I don't think people had storage units on their radar.
Some haven't, some have. I don't. Yeah, it's. I guess for me, I've been thinking about it so long. Anytime I was very surprised at some family members' response to this purchase. To be honest with you,
In a good or bad way?
I was surprised how shocked they were and were curious if this was a good idea.
Oh, okay. Well,
I just assumed everybody knew, and so and on another note, if anybody else is looking for other types of investment ideas, just think about what's missing in your town. Do you go to, like, another thing we bought is a commercial piece of property, and we're going to put food carts on it.
Oh, okay. Never even thought about that. Now you don't worry about the food issue as far as, the health department or anything like that.
We don't own the carts. We just own the land.
Oh.
So if you just had a tiny plot of land that was plumbed like an RV park, so it had water, sewer, and electric, or just water and sewer, and then they have their own gas tank for propane to cook on, and all you're doing is renting them a little spot. Now up here, food carts are huge. I don't know about down there. I haven't looked around.
Los Angeles, probably not where I live, but Los Angeles, yeah.
So there's no food cart pods in your area where you walk in and there's 10 food carts in a bar.
No.
Right. So up here, they are blown up everywhere. I can drive 10 miles and probably hit, I would say, 6 food cart pods.
Wow. Okay.
In each town. And so a town that I drive by every day, they don't have one. And so earlier this year, we found this abandoned market. Nobody's been inside for over, I think, 10 years. And found a couple that we were like, I sent it to them because he was looking to put a bar somewhere. And they said, what do you guys think about going in on with us? And we did. And so now the pitfalls of that is now we're dealing with the city on demoing a building, parking restrictions, and things like that. So there's so many different things to think about when you're thinking about where's your money going and how could you have it make more through real estate.
Right. And it sounds like commercial versus private, there's all kinds of different rules and regs. So
Yes.
Do your due diligence before you jump right into anything.
Yes. And if you're just confident enough that it's worked in the past, for me, if I've seen it work, then somebody can get it done. Right?
Right.
And so it's just a matter of, can you afford to get it done? And if you can't, then it's not for you. But if you're resourceful enough and persistent enough, you got to have a little bit of drive. Once you get the drive, partner yourself up with an agent that can really show you things and mastermind with the pitfalls of a certain piece of property. And then you can accomplish pretty much anything if you work at it.
That's fantastic. This is such a interesting episode for me because, again, when you mentioned it to me and said, so I don't know if I mentioned it to you or not, I was like, wow, that's kind of cool. And then I started looking into it, talking to a couple people, and they're like, no, that's really good. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, who knew, So
yeah,
I think that's fantastic. Well, Ray, thank you. This has been another great episode, and I can't wait for the next episode because I think coming up with the holiday season in full force now that we're into late November, I think, or I should say mid-November. We're going to be in December for our next episode. I want to talk about really getting into that single family home that people are wondering if it's the right time at the end of the year to just jump in and finally get it and, what they're looking for in this market. So
perfect.
Thank you for joining me and continuing our journey into this great thing called real estate. And we will talk to everybody next week. on the My Home HQ podcast with Ray Fletcher. Everyone, make it a great day, a great rest of your week, and happy Thanksgiving. So everyone, make it a really good month.
Thank you for listening to My Home HQ podcast with Ray Fletcher. Drop us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Check out our website and blog at www.rayfletcher.biz or contact Ray directly at realtorrayf@gmail.com to also subscribe to his weekly newsletter.